All right, good. I'll go ahead and bring to order the Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, December 11th. We'll start off with a roll call.
Tom Bryant,
Here.
Sandy Levinson,
Here.
Paul Tonelli,
Here.
Bob Polito,
Here.
Eric Layton.
Here. All right, the next item on the agenda is the public comment section. That we reserve the public comment sections for things that are not on the agenda. Sometimes people come up and tell us about something that they've heard about, they want us to look into, or give us feedback on something that's happened in the past, or just come up and tell us what a great job we're doing. So we open up this segment for anyone who would like to say anything at all that's not on the agenda tonight. Nobody's rushing to the microphone, and I don't see anybody online that's there. There's nobody online. All right, good. So I'll open and close that the public comment section, and then we'll come to the approval of the minutes. I only had one overall change to the minutes. Tom was online, but it had not been noticed, unlike Bob's, who's been noticed, so he couldn't vote. So technically, all the votes should show one abstention. There's one absent because Bob wasn't there, right? Bob wasn't there at that meeting, right? Was he there at that meeting?
No, he wasn't.
Right. No. So Bob was absent, but Tom should show as abstaining on the rolls because he actually went through the whole meeting. He just, because it wasn't announced beforehand that he was not be here live, couldn't vote.
Mm-hmm.
So it should record all the actions as abstentions. That's the only thing I saw that needs to change on it. That way he gets full credit for taking part in the meeting, but also highlights the fact that he didn't vote. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Any other items? I need a motion.
A motion approved.
All right.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. And you know, what I think I'll do from now on, Bob, is I'll go ahead and I'll do a roll call on everything else, just to make sure that we record yours properly. Also, there was the Planning Commission meeting schedule for the next year, just to make sure everybody's clear on when the meetings are during next year.
So Town Planner Brittany Bendix, we have that as an item for discussion under 5A, where we can make a motion on it.
All right, good. All right, there'll be one item, maybe a joint session. Yeah. All right, very good. So the next items will be the public hearing items, and the format will be the same for all the public hearing items. We'll start with an update from staff. They'll give us an overview, and then the commissioners can ask staff questions. Then we'll open up the public comment section. We'll start with the applicant or their representative, and then we'll close the public comment section, bring it back to the commission for action, for discussion and actions appropriate. So we'll do that on every one. If anyone comes in later or comes online, I'll go over the format again, so nobody's left wondering what the format will be. With that, then we have the review of the 2024 master plan from Sacred Heart. And you're going to start, is that yours to cover, Brittany?
We have our senior planner, Radha Hayagrieve, who is going to be giving the presentation on that item.
Okay. All right.
So-
Oh, hey, Radha, it's good to see you. I'm glad I haven't seen you in a while. All right.
Yes,
Radha?
thank you, Chairlin.
All right. Very good. Go ahead.
I'm going to share my screen. I have a short series of slides for us to talk about the Sacred Hearts Master Plan. Let me know if you can see my screen. Good
there we
evening, commissioners. Tonight's item on Sacred Heart School is their 2024 Master Plan report and update to the Planning Commission, which is a required item that all schools in the public facilities and school district, they must bring to the Planning Commission annually. For the ordinance for this master plan update is very clear as to the required details and all the aspects of the update that the schools have to bring to the Planning Commission. And since the master plan must generally describe several aspects of what's happening on their campus, which includes land use, circulation, parking, enrollment facilities, historic facilities, heritage trees, use and hours of operations. In the 2024 master plan, as we can see in their campus plan, land use and their location, which is generally visible in a manner where sports facilities are occupying the corners and all the other uses are distributed across the campus. Typically, master plan updates would bring any major changes to the staff and planning commission at this point. The 2024 master plan has no changes to existing land uses of the school and the apartment buildings and the various other regular operations of sports facilities, aquatic center, and all the things that are part of the part of the Sacred Heart School. And they have not brought any changes to the 2024 update. So we will move on to the circulation patterns. What you see here on your campus plan, everything that's shown in gray, the large swaths of gray, which includes the parking and the tiny gray pathways are circulation. And the 2024 update is not bringing any changes to the existing circulation for the master plan update. All the labels A to F on this map at the bottom right are parking spaces, and the 2024 update indicates that there are no changes to this one either. Enrollment is provided, the enrollment of the school, the students' enrollment is tied with the TDM plan that was approved by the City Council in 2013. The 2024 update remains true to the required cap. The school cannot over-enroll beyond the 1196 students, and in order for them to keep the 1196 students, they would have to make sure that the traffic count for the for the vehicles entering in and out of the campus has to be under 6,000 cars. I will go into a little bit of detail as we are talking through the TDM ordinance in the upcoming slides. But as of today, enrollment and any request for changes in this year's or the academic year enrollment doesn't change in the 2024 master plan. As part of the facilities update, typically any new projects to the campus would be brought to the commission at this point in time when they would bring a request for new facilities or any changes with CUs. The school is anticipating something in the future. They are thinking and investigating solar panel updates. They are thinking of small administrative building, and they brought the administrative building that we're thinking about was included in the 2023 report. They're also studying moving the cellular tower on the campus away from the kindergarten back to the maintenance area in the rear. They're also assessing specific locations in and around the campus to add potential housing to meet the town's RHNA goals. Again, all these potential projects are just anticipated in the future. The school has given us a heads up and they just included in the master plan update. At this point in time, there are no permits and no formal reviews for any of these projects that I just mentioned. The other aspect of the master plan is historic facilities. The 100-year-old main building was seismically upgraded in 2000, and it was subsequently upgraded in 2010 and 2015. It is the oldest structure on campus. It is not registered as a historic building, and also the 2024 master plan does not include or suggest any changes to these historic facilities on the campus. The next section is the heritage trees. The school has mentioned in this year's update that they are increasing their budgets for overall tree care. And because of the storm-related damage in 2023 and 2024, they have noted that they would be increasing the amount they would spend to maintain the trees on campus. Use and hours of operations is a section of the update that the school has to bring to the town. Typically, the operations are weekdays and Saturdays, and the operations on Sundays, including very light programming for church services and middle school games from visiting teams, a couple of open houses between 10 to 5 p.m. Weekend uses are listed for some Saturdays for baseball and Little League and aquatics between 10 and 4. Other Sunday events such as masses and open house and Valpo Run are part of their regular operations and use. And nothing, those are the regular standard updates, and nothing has changed with the use and hours of operations in 2024. I want to bring the Commission's attention to the TDM monitoring program and its compliance with the prior approvals. The 2024 master plan includes a request for certification of the TDM program. Just to talk about a brief history of what how the TDM program came into existence. In 2013, Sacred Heart School, they applied for amendments to a CU to substitute a TDM program.
Radha, could you just like to clarify the acronyms for everybody that's listening? So go ahead and the TDM and all the rest of it.
Sorry, TDM is a Transportation Demand Management Program. Thank you, Chair Lane.
Yeah.
The Transportation Demand Program is a program that monitors vehicle entering and exiting a campus. For the Sacred Heart School, the number of vehicles entering this campus was capped at 6,000 vehicles per day. And the 6,000 vehicles per day was calculated based on an overall capacity and the overall usage of this campus, which limits their enrollment to 1196 students. And as part of that approval in 2013, the campus has installed what you see in the map as these yellow callouts are what you see are called the automatic license plate readers. And these are the readers that the campus maintains, and they're required to be kept operational during school year. And this is the system that was installed and is used annually to analyze the vehicles coming in and out. The 2024 traffic trip count data is usually taken across 2 weeks as a sample data. And at this point in time, the 2024 data from this system is reflecting that the annual cap of the 6,000 is the total number is about 21% below the total cap of the transportation demand management number. This just means that the campus is not seeing 6,000 vehicles per day in their in and out of that entire place. The update also mentions that,
if you've got a couple more points, that's good. I'm very conscious of the time because I know we got one member that has to step down on this one. So Paul, you may want to go ahead and step down now.
Sure.
All right. And then with Bob leaving later and Tom has to step down on the last one, I want to make sure we get to that last one.
okay.
And I know this is a much more straightforward present request than we've had before, or than we had before. So, Rod, is it okay if I stop right now and ask if there's any commissioner questions, and then have the applicant show up, and then he'll fill in on all the gaps. And I want to leave something for him to present too. Is that all right?
Sounds good. Yes, no problem.
All right, good. All right, any questions of staff right now?
Yeah, I have one.
All right, go ahead.
So Radha, it's not clear to me what the school is asking for relative to reporting the TDM. I wasn't clear if it's this whole 5-year thing that was very fuzzy. And so can you explain that?
The engineer's letter had some sample requests that basically extended a request that the engineers override. Okay, let me back up a little bit. In 2022, when we got the master plan update, we had required the school to have an engineer vet every data and do sample survey for their annual master plan update. However, we went to the campus and we took a look at the system, and we have spoken to the engineers, and we had requested the engineers to come back in 2023 and review that data too. In 2024, the school is requesting that the engineers would vet the system overall and would allow the school to submit the data and do spot counts on those 2 weeks like they have always been doing since 2013. They're just saying that that the engineers have already approved the system and that the planning commission would accept the data as coming out of the system. The
Okay,
engineer's letter is requesting that this would go out to the next 5 to 10 years. But when you look at the master plan update itself, they have to come every year to submit to us anyways. So
Okay.
the planning commission by default will be reviewing the traffic count every year from this ALPRS system located cameras.
All right.
Does
good.
that help?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Town planner Brittany Bendix, I just want to add to this that the request for engineer verification actually was a request at the town planner's discretion in 2022 when M Group first stepped in and started reviewing these, as we're consultants hired for the town to do the planning operations. At this point, we've done enough reviews with Sacred Heart that absent of any changes, there's really no reason to take this letter and have it verified by a third-party engineer. And so we're noting it in here mainly for transparency.
Yeah. Yeah. Sacred Hearts it was the first school in the area to really focus in on how to manage the traffic. And that actually became a model for other schools. Menlo followed it. And so it's been a very, very good program. All right. Any other questions of staff before I open it up?
No.
All right. You're up. Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and open up the public comment section. We'll start with the applicant. All right.
nope,
There you go.
nope.
Yeah. I don't know.
think so.
Yeah, I think. There you go.
There we go.
Now
Green
you're,
light.
yeah.
I'm Michael Dwyer. I am here representing Sacred Heart Schools, Atherton. It's the first time I've talked to you folks in the dark.
You
Usually
come
we
in the
are
summer.
presenting much earlier in the year. I just want to thank you for your support over the years. It's been important and part of our success overall. And I know last year, I showed you some photographs of some of the successes of the programs that you put together with water management and bioswales and that type of thing. I want to make this as brief as possible because I think the planning department did a really good job of presenting the report that we turned in. And I'm here to clarify any questions you might have directly for me. But we have enjoyed this school year. We're halfway through, and we're going to have one more semester after the holiday. And then I'll probably see you 6 months from now at that time to present next year's master plan update,
That would be for 2026 or 2025? What would that be for?
2025.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, right. And it is kind of difficult, I will admit, for me to think all the way back. 'Cause-
Right.
And then our school year overlaps into fiscal years and all these things. So just briefly, at one point, we were talking about COVID-19 for quite a while. It has not been a factor this school year. We may have had a slight uptick in the beginning of the school year, but nothing since has not affected our operation in any way, nor impacted the community. The one thing I'd like to highlight, and I've highlighted a few times before, is that We are very proud of the fact that we serve Atherton and Atherton residents. There are 9 schools within the Atherton border. We have between 17 and 25% of Atherton residents enrolled at our school year over year. This year, it happens to be about 17.5% based on using averages of the most current census and other data that I collect from the town. And so that means that roughly 83% are distributed through the other schools in the town. So that's one thing that I know that the town has previously asked us to make sure that we represent. And I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that.
Great.
This coming year, we do not have any major projects, just as we did not have major projects last year. We are committed to trying to identify areas that will assist the town in housing when possible with some of the property that we have. But right now, we either have a playing field, a building, or heritage trees in the only areas that might be buildable for that type of construction. I wrote on my little notes here, and I've said it in the past, that it's a reminder about admissions, but I know that there are new members of the commission. Admissions is a science and it's an art. If you don't offer enough applications and admittance, you're not going to reach your number. So you do have to offer and hope that your numbers get in there. And we've been very successful and happy with our yield. And we're at 1196. We were at 1196 last year. We usually lose about 5 to 10 students to attrition over the school year. We only lost 1 the previous school year, which was unusual for us. But it's something that we concentrate on because, of course, we want to meet budget when we go through these things, because that's what makes us successful and allows us to stay and represent the town by offering the education. Previous year, I reported about storm damage. This past year, we did not escape it. We did have a couple of large heritage trees fall and destroy our property. It was one of those things where we went to repair, then there was another problem. I mean, the thing just mushroomed. And unfortunately, these things cost a lot of money, which is why there's an indication that we increased our budget on the tree management and control. And our first responsibility is to try to keep them healthy. And if we identify some that are not healthy, then we have to mitigate it by lightening the weight on the trees and or removing when possible. The town has been very supportive of that. And I'm very thankful to you folks and the town arborist for working with us and our arborist to get this done.
Great.
As was discussed by staff, we're 21% below the cap. That's another thing that we're proud of. We increased our bus and transportation offerings. We promote driving and walking to school, and that seems to have helped with all of our efforts. Neighbor relations remain strong. I work very closely with neighbors. I ask them for feedback. Anytime I give them my cell phone number, anytime they need anything, we have a discussion. As a matter of fact, just prior to this meeting, I met with one of our neighbors and handled a question she had, allowing her to leave earlier. She was concerned that maybe we were going to do a building project or add stuff, and I was able to show her that that's not on our agenda. And so it's just something that I think is super important, especially here in Atherton. At this time, I think everything else was covered by staff. If you have any questions,
Go ahead.
please
Go
let me
ahead.
know.
Michael, this is my first time sitting in on a review of the schools. So if you don't mind, I have a set of background questions
Sure.
to help me get up to speed. So I know that the Oakmont Retirement Center is on site for retired sisters. How many units is in Oakmont or
So
apartments?
it's Oakwood, and
Or Oakwood?
there are beds for 60 retired nuns, but we also have a gatehouse that houses 5 or 6. And we have apartments that can handle about 12. Now, on site right now, it's about 50.
So, so it's a mix of independent living and assisted living, maybe memory care.
Very little assisted living and very little memory care because that requires a different licensing. There are more independent nuns and some that need a little bit more assistance.
Okay.
But once they reach the memory care, they're transferred to a different location.
But it's not necessarily for the 60 you mentioned, it's not independent apartments for them, each of them.
For some of them are.
For some of them,
Yeah.
let me count it up real quick.
I'm just trying to get a sense.
About
of-
12, about 17 are independent living.
Yeah.
The others are in individual rooms in a retirement facility.
Okay. All
So
right.
Tom, real quick. All right, we got 35 minutes and you've got you are off on the last meeting. Are you here for the second
No,
item?
no, I'm not for the last meeting.
No, yeah, the third. All right, well, but the third item on the agenda is the one where we lose both Bob and you if I don't get it in by seven.
Oh, you're talking about in terms of
Yeah,
quorum.
Yeah.
Um,
So is there anything here that would prevent, is there anything on your list that you could follow up with him on that would be something that the two of you could just talk through?
let me just ask
All right, go
a
ahead.
couple of quick questions. So, Michael, you were talking about
Make them quick. All right.
the parcels that you're potentially looking at for housing. What are the sizes of those parcels?
You know, I have not measured them. I located them on the diagram, but we haven't measured them.
Okay, so you don't have a sense of how many units it would be?
Do not,
Yeah.
no.
And is there a sense of who the respective tenants would be? I mean, is this for teacher housing or?
Well, this isn't in the plan, is it?
Town
It's-
planner Brittany Benedict stepping in here because part of this has already been documented in the housing element,
Right.
which is currently under review by the state. So if there is some indication that what they're looking at is different than what's in the
I
housing
didn't see that in
element,
the housing element.
it is, I'm looking at the housing element right
Okay.
here on table 15, the site inventory. I can forward this to you, but that was definitely part of the analysis and it is part of our site inventory and it is under consideration by the state right now.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, good. All right, and you feel free to go offline with the questions, all right? But I just want to make sure we don't have people here, and because what I'm liable to do is switch the order if there's nobody. Is anybody here for the second item? All right, good, then I might switch the.
We have somebody online for the second item.
All right, then, any other questions? All right, good, then I need a motion. You're gonna make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I
Right.
move the Planning Commission accept the 2024 annual update and the report on TDM monitoring from Sacred Heart Schools.
All right, great. All right.
Second,
Moved and seconded.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Sandy Levinson,
Aye.
Tom Bryant,
Aye.
Vice Chair Polito,
aye.
Chair Lane,
Aye.
motion passes.
Wait, and
And
Paul
Paul Tonelli
recused.
recused.
All right, thank you. Just want to make sure that goes on the agenda. So I'm going to ask the applicant on the second item, who's online for the second item? Shojang, Shojang, is it okay if we hold the hearing on the third item? We're liable to lose some members who can move on the third item, and I'd have to kick it to another meeting if we don't have time, and I'm worried that your presentation would take us up to the end of the time. Can you have enough schedule flexibility for us to switch? You might be on mute.
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to check what's the rough time that we can get to the third item if we switch the order?
Well, it'll have to be within 30 minutes because we're going to lose
Okay.
we lose two people at 30 minutes. We lose at least two people on the third item in 30 minutes. So the whole thing will happen within 30 minutes. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's fine. I can switch the order as long as we can get the decisions today. Yeah.
Yes, you'll be able to do that. You're going to stay around for that,
Yep.
right? Okay, good. So that works out great. Thank you. Thank you, Jojen, for the flexibility, and thank you, Tom, for stepping out. And the reason Tom is stepping out is he's within 500 feet of the application property. And Bob's going to leave at 7 o'clock for his other event. So I'm trying to make sure you can land on your feet. All right, with that, I need the most crisp staff presentation that's ever been given. And then we'll go from there.
Well, that happens to be my preference. Especially. Town planner
All
Brittany
right, just
Bendix.
for the record, we're moving to item, let me get the item number. We're moving to item 4C so that we can make sure we can have a discussion that we'll have
Sorry,
a
is it
forum
Linda
for.
Vista or Oak Grove?
Linda
Vista.
It's Linda, so we're
Yeah,
on
Linda Vista. We're going to
Got
listen
it.
to Linda Vista.
Got it.
All
Town,
right.
Town
Thank-
planner Brittany Bendix. This item before you is a tree protection zone exception request for a pool at 88 Linda Vista Avenue. This would accommodate a pool that is 6 times the distance from the diameter at breast height from 3 coast redwoods. So what we have on screen is a general locator map of the property. This was included in your staff report. I'll now scroll down to the general location of the existing pool, which you see here at the center with the subject trees located here. That's figure 2. And then figure 3 shows the proposed location of the pool, just below the tree protection zones that are identified here. However, the pit for the pool has already been dug. And so that was one of the things that we elaborated on in the staff report, that this is actually legalization of work that has already been done without benefit of an issued permit. There is an alternative that has been looked at, in which case, if in the event the Planning Commission denied the request, this alternative pool location at an angle could be pursued. The town arborist has reviewed this request, the initial request, up above here that corresponds with the work that has been done, and is recommending denial. Myself as the town planner, however, I am recommending approval given some feedback from the town arborist relative to the potential damage that may further harm the tree to fill in the pit that has already been constructed and then dig another alternative location. So in that sense, the recommendation is available to the commission should they be concerned at the further information that they're given by the town arborist and want to take an alternative path. In the spirit of that recommendation, we have also added conditions that you don't typically see in the
Oh, this is not the one you have to recuse yourself? I thought, okay. That's why I asked whether the second one or the third one. All right, okay, so you're good on this one?
I'm good on this.
Ah, okay. All right, so now we could have a problem on the other one.
So Commissioner Bryant will be able to attend this item. It
Yeah, well-
sounds and he is joining us. Do you feel like I need to go back and review?
He's
Okay.
been back here.
So as I mentioned, we've included 2 conditions of approval on this project if you are to recommend approval that are not standard. The first is quarterly arborist reports that would span for the next 5 years, basically documenting that the health of the tree is maintained and that if the health of the tree recedes at the end of that 5-year period.
Brittany,
Mhm.
I've got a problem again, the reverse problem now, because we've got a situation where I ask the second person to move, and we're liable to bump into his time now, where we won't have a quorum for his.
So
and
we
get the
need to
last-
finish this one.
What?
We need to finish this one because we've started.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Let's hurry up then. We just clarified. Okay, go ahead, finish it.
Sorry, I should have said the
Yeah,
address.
that's all right. All right, go ahead.
So the second component of the conditions is that if the tree health fails at year 5, that the applicant would be responsible for twice the fee, replacement fee assigned to that tree. So that's our recommendation. I'm going to turn it over to the town arborist to add any additional information, and then we can go to questions for staff.
All right. I've got a lot of questions, but I'll wait until after the presentation because I don't understand how the hole was dug in the first place.
Yeah.
So can we go ahead and hear from the applicant or their representative? Sally, did you want to say anything or do you want to?
I mean, I think the staff report,
Talking to the mic.
Yeah.
I think the staff report explains it pretty well, but if there are any questions, I can clarify timeline or anything like that.
No, I mean, was anybody contact you beforehand and say, hey, we're going to dig a hole?
I mean, I sent my comments 5 times over the course of 2023 to now. The pool contractor did come in to talk to me and I did say the permit wasn't issued.
Okay, all right. We'll go ahead and open the public hearing and hear from the applicant or representative.
This on?
Yeah, it's on. It's on.
Hi, my name is Dustin Moore. I'm the landscape architect for the project. First, want to apologize for proceeding without a permit. It was an honest mistake. So I want to walk through, I was going to walk through the 2 concepts. The reason we've landed on this concept is it's next to a pool house. It makes complete sense from how the site is laid out, and that's why we were asking for the TPZ exception in the first place. This diagram
Actually, the
shows-
second place, because the first place was a dig. All right. So why was the hole dug in the first place?
So I was going to walk through the process. So we applied for our permit, and in March we got the conditional approval from planning. With that condition, it had to go to planning commission, and we had to get our building permit. We misunderstood the process with the planning commission. We thought that it was routed directly from the planning department to the planning commission. And that's why every time we got comments from Sally, we just thought that it was in process. We
Yeah, so
completely
I
misunderstood.
want to jump out on that front end of the process. So is this your first project in Atherton?
No, we have done
So
25 to 30
you're
projects.
familiar with the tree preservation ordinance. You know what the process, you should know what the process is, right?
We know the process.
We don't know the process, apparently.
Right.
We have not applied directly for a variance for the process.
This is not a variance. It's not,
Or the
I don't
the
think so.
TPZ exception.
So again, I want to go back to the process. So you started knowing what the tree preservation ordinance was. You started with a site survey of the site, correct?
Correct.
Right. So you knew where the redwood trees were. You knew their distance from the house. You knew how it would impact this. And this is the design you came up with, knowing that there's an issue with the redwoods.
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
And I also want to clarify that every project, I have Sally meet me on site to go through what our concept is, if there's limitations.
So what about this process looked like you didn't need an exception approved for this, given your experience with the regulations?
So we knew that we needed an exception. We didn't understand that we had to apply to the planning commission separately from our initial permit.
Then you really don't know the process. You know, I'm particularly ticked off on this one because this is the second time on the same street that somebody just came in and said, oh, for the last time it was like 4 houses, 5 houses down. It was like, we took down the trees. We didn't know we needed an exception. 4 houses down or 5 houses down. I was like, oh, shoot, we didn't know we need to get an approval before we dig. So this is not okay. So this could trigger more excitement than you know.
Yeah. The question is what's your professional responsibility in terms of, first off, creating a design that is really creating a problem and then not dealing with that problem up front?
You know,
So the process, so I met Sally on site before we showed our clients this concept, showing that we were going to be touching the 6X, because I want her to chime in before we proceed any further. And she and I had a discussion. We agreed that it's a redwood, so redwoods are much more resilient than, say, an oak or other trees. And so with her nod, that's why we
there was
proceeded.
no nod from Sally on something like this. She's the fact that she even would consider a 6x rather than the standard for the school. We worked with Sally for a long, long time. She knows this. She knows this cold. and she doesn't approve these things out of hand, just randomly. As a matter of fact, she's the most tree preservation person I've ever known in my life. So she would not have just said, oh yeah, well, yeah, the 6.5, that's a problem. So, you blew it. You didn't only screw it up, you blew it. All right. And it's really annoying. And I feel like a Grinch on Christmas time, but you didn't do your job. And so what else do you have to say on this? And what are the alternatives if we don't approve?
So I just want to reinforce that I went through the process.
You did not go through the process.
Okay.
That's why we're here. All right. So what is the alternative if we don't approve?
It would be the other concept that it doesn't work from an architectural standpoint.
All right. So then you don't have a fallback. So we have two choices.
No, they have a fallback.
What you said, the other one it doesn't work from an architectural standpoint.
Correct.
All right. So it does.
That's not even true.
Yeah.
It's not the preferred alternative.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So we've got two choices. We go ahead and authorize the pre-dig and say, oh yeah, we have ordinances, and somebody just sort of randomly wakes up and decides that, yeah, I understand the rules, but I'll do whatever I want. All right. So, this is like the fourth time that somebody have just sort of woken up and said, hey, I think if we do this, we can get accepted for it. I am done with that. And I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to ask, at the end of this, I'm going to talk to staff about some draconian type requests, like a situation where if a contractor doesn't comply, they get a 3 to 5 year ban or from being approved for work in the town, and maybe a $50,000 penalty in advance. But I don't want the homeowner to get it. I want the contractor who's supposed to know the regulations, supposed to know how to do shit, and supposed to know how to make sure things happen properly. And for you to say here that you've done it before, it makes me even more worried about the work you've done throughout the entire town. All right. So a couple things. When we get done with this, I will talk about having an article in the paper in our local newsletter talking about the right way to approach this, and maybe even highlight examples of a contractor who didn't do the right thing and came to us for an exception. So we'll talk about it. But is there anything else you have?
So I just wanted to highlight, so we had our approval in March through planning, and it had the path laid out to go through the commission. We send that to our clients and to our contractor saying, we've got this. And it was a mistake for our contractor to start digging. I wasn't aware that he dug it until.
So who's responsible for the project then? If you weren't aware of it and they didn't, they just started digging, who's responsible for the project overall?
We're pulling the permit.
So the permit has to be pulled by the contractor, although we facilitate.
All right.
So normally we would go through the planning department, have our approval, and then we go through the building department, get everything queued up, and then the contractor goes to pull the contract or the permit. Our contractor mistakenly thought that it was just it was a paper process. That had
So
to
your
be done.
contractor doesn't know how to build in the town either then. This is going to stop. It's going to stop. It's going to start stopping today, and it's going to stop going forward. So I don't know what the deal is if somebody wakes up and says, you know what? Those things that the neighbors agreed to that are about protecting the neighborhood and about protecting trees and the things, those things, we'll get around those. Don't worry about it. That's what's happened 3 or 4 times on that, 2 times on that street. All right. And let alone other places where somebody just wakes up and says, yeah, we'll figure it out. The whole thing about, we'll pay to get around the rule doesn't work for me. And the fact that you're responsible for doing the right thing and you didn't, doesn't work for me even more. And you know what? If you go through the last 13 years of me being on the planning commission and the last 11 years of me being a chair, you will not see one recording of me doing this to anybody else. You are the only contractor I've ever just totally berated in front of everybody. And it's because you failed miserably. And then you write it off like, hey, well, it doesn't work the plan. That's not going to work for me. All right. Anything else? The insight did you provide?
I know that you're upset.
Yeah, you're right. I wasn't when I started today.
I know. But I want to say that we always play by the rules. This is the only project we've had problems with Atherton. And you can speak to Sally about the fact that I do bring her in before we start our schematic design.
Well,
just
then
to
maybe
make
you
sure-
should take our advice next time. Anything else?
Just had one
Go on.
question.
Yeah.
Just the history of the property, was there an existing residence that was torn down, or how did this project start? Or is it a remodel? What is?
It's just a landscape remodel. So they're building an ADU, which is part of the pool house. And that's been under construction before we started. Our landscape scope is just replacing an existing pool. So we took out an existing pool that was in the same location. We're just making it into a lap pool for our clients' use.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I have a couple quick ones.
Okay, Bob?
It does look like the new pool is longer and narrower, like you say, a lap pool, but basically in the same spot?
Not quite.
It's in a similar spot. We're actually pulling it away from the trees. So we're actually reducing the footprint at the trees where the existing pool was, and then we're extending it so it is longer because our clients wanted a lap pool.
That's what I thought. So I went to the job site but couldn't get in. There was nobody there.
Right.
Nobody answered
Sure.
anything. So I didn't get to see it. But judging from the picture in the staff report and knowing way more than I want to about redwood trees and the way their root systems operate, Sally, what would be your estimate of the chances of those trees surviving the way the roots have been cut?
You're asking Sally, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, because there was an existing pool there that was closer, and their arborist report does say that they didn't cut roots over 2 inches. My concern is that the compaction of the roots with heavy machinery to demo the existing pool didn't have any oversight. And then to dig the new pool, no oversight, no fencing, no nothing. So it's just all about the compaction of the roots around the trees. I mean, the trees aren't going to show stress for 1 year to 3 years from this. But we're hoping that the trees survive it. I mean, I think the trees will survive, but we put in that the 5-year time frame so that we could have them monitored up until 5 years.
And what's
5
your
years we would see.
what's your value? You have to put a value on the trees to support this fine that you might levy at some point. What is that value?
So if the trees are about 15,000 each times 2. So
Okay.
almost $100,000 fine.
Right.
Okay. All right.
That's just an estimate.
No, I understand, but it's significant is my point. So somebody's going to pay for the error if it turns out to be a real error.
Right.
I mean,
And
for Sally.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Bob, go
Bob's got
ahead.
another one.
I would lastly add, I'm not a huge fan of protecting non-native trees just because they get to a certain size, and redwoods are particularly problematic here. I think the chances that they didn't cut any roots that were more than 2 inches in diameter, again, I didn't get to go out and see the trees, but the chances of that, if the trees have any size at all, is 0. But then again, we are where we are, and I think there's enough money on the table that they'll do everything they can to try and salvage these trees.
So the question I have for Sally is that they've already dug the pit for the pool, so they've already disturbed the redwoods to the extent that they're probably going to get disturbed. So if we rule that they need to go with the alternate, they're going to refill and recompact that
You have to
area.
refill and recompact.
Right. But
Again, and then it would also be disturbance for the new alternative location as
Right.
well.
so,
So I mean, I can't recommend it because of the precedent. They didn't follow the town tree protection zone rules. So I can't recommend it.
you can't recommend.
I can't recommend it, but I would be okay.
No,
with-
Sally, you
with-
can't recommend what?
I can't recommend
Approval of,
approval.
yeah.
But I see where Brittany's coming from because if we make them refill it, they have to compact it. It's just causing more compaction for the trees, more heavy machinery near the trees.
So,
Yeah, where I was trying to, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
where I was
so-
trying to get to, Sally, is essentially the harm's been done.
Well, yeah, except for the minor detail about not complying with
I agree about
ordinances.
that.
Yeah.
I agree about that. But in terms of the trees, the harm has essentially been done, and maybe we do more harm by actually refilling
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe we can do more harm by approving something when somebody just does whatever
Yeah.
the heck they want.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have something too?
Yes.
Go ahead and
How do-
introduce
how do
yourself.
I work this?
You're on.
You're on.
Town planner, I just want to
uh,
remind the chair we're in public comment.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're in public comment.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. My wife Shaheen and I have lived there now, what, 12 years? And I'm 73. I had 2 back surgeries and needed to relearn to walk. That's why I was hoping swimming is part of my physical therapy. That's why we were hoping for a lengthened pool. I do love trees and I do love the environment. I've supported environmental efforts, and the last thing I would want would be to go around something to hurt a tree. But given that we are where we are, we'll do our very best, I promise you, to take as good care of the trees, feed them, water them during the dry season, whatever Sally recommends, whatever the town recommends.
Yes.
So again, thank you so much for your time, and my apologies.
And I'm not at all angry at you. Let me tell you, I'm not at all angry at all. I'm very disappointed with your contractor and their inability to guide you properly.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening.
All right. All right. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Now I'll close the public hearing session and bring it back for discussion or an action.
I actually asked my questions.
All right, go ahead. But don't forget, I lose you.
No, I'm done.
Yeah. All right, good. Annie, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go for.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
All right.
I move the planning commission approve the tree protection zone exception permit at 88 Linda Vista Avenue for the reasons described in the draft tree protection zone exception permit certificate, and categorically exempt the project from provisions of CEQA under AMC section 1532.100 and CEQA section 15304. I want to add, if necessary, that 5-year inspection process that was mentioned is that staff makes sure that that's adhered to the letter.
Yeah.
So we currently require quarterly reports for full site development, so they will just be added to my list. If it's not turned in, then it becomes a code enforcement issue and goes to our code enforcement officer. So it will be on the list and if approved, and we will follow up with them to get those reports.
All right, very good. All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right, roll call. I'm not going to vote for it, but not because I don't agree with the solution for your property, but I'm making a point about the methodology,
Right.
because it's just not the way we run the railroad.
All right. For the record, that's a nay from Chairman Lane.
So we do the roll call.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Are you ready for a roll call? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bryant,
Aye.
Commissioner Levinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Tonelli,
Grudgingly and for the benefit of the trees, aye.
Vice Chair Polito,
Aye.
and Chairperson Lane.
No. All right, please take care of the trees. Don't ever do that again. All right, let's go with item number 2. Yeah, item number 2. And Bob, I'm gonna need you to stay with me a little bit, all right? Because I need I need the third vote. Can you get our second applicant back? Is he still on?
We still have 3 votes.
We only with Bob. Oh, we still have 3 votes. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I was thinking we
We
were
still
down.
have a quorum.
Yeah, I was thinking we were down. You tried to tell me that earlier, didn't you?
Well.
All right.
This one should go fast.
All right, let's go. Do we have the applicant though? Is the
Yes.
applicant?
Yes.
All right,
he's here.
good. All right, good. So thank you for waiting, Cho Chang. We'll go ahead and we're going to go with item, what is it, 4C? Is that what it is?
4B.
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 4B, for the addition of existing residents at the 232 Oak Grove, for a tree protection zone, which is actually being done in accordance with this process. So This is the other way. If you want to stay around to see how it's supposed to work, this next one will show you. That's right. That's all right. Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Town Planner Brittany Bendix, introducing the tree protection zone exception request at 232 Oak Grove. This request is really to accommodate fairly minor additions and interior remodels to the existing property. And it requests a 3X exception from one Coast Redwood and a 4X exception from another Coast Redwood. And I can leave it at that. We're recommending approval. I'll turn it to Sally,
Sally.
Town Arborist, if she'd like to add anything.
Yeah, so if you went to the site, you would see these are very huge redwood trees. I mean, I don't think they could even build a new residence with our codes because these trees are so large. So for me, it's better for them just to extend and do a remodel addition in a couple areas that will barely impact the trees rather than do a full site development. I mean, these are pretty low numbers, 3X and 4X, but this is a really small addition, remodel. They're using the patio. The one section already has 2 sections of the house. They're just filling that in. So I felt like for this, it's very minor impacts, even though the TPZs are pretty low. That's because the trees are 80 inches diameter. And they want to preserve the trees. They'd rather do the remodel than a full site development. They didn't find any roots over 2 inches when they did the exploratory trenching along where the new section will be. And 1% or less of roots will be impacted. So I feel like this one was one that I am okay with, even though the TPZs are pretty low.
All right, good. All right, any questions to staff?
No.
All right, let's go ahead and open the public comment section, and we'll hear from the applicant or their representative. Shou Shang?
Yeah, so I'll be brief. Hopefully this will be smooth. So the intention is that we are doing a remodeling project to accommodate our grandparents' kids staying at the same place. And we've been following the procedure and talking with Sally along the way. So per Sally's request, we hired Henry, our arborist here, and we dug the whole exploratory trench to find out there's minimum tree roots that we see on the area we're gonna do the addition. So that's why we're applying for this TPZ.
Very good. Any questions? All right, thank you. Anyone else to speak on this item? Anybody online? There's nobody in the room. All right, I'll close the public comment section and bring it back to the commission for discussion and action as appropriate. This one looks like, this is the way you're supposed to do it, by the way, for those of you who watch this tape later, and for anybody who wants to see the comparison of what happens one way or the other, you just watch this video. All right, and so I'm ready to make a motion if we're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, I move the planning commission approve the tree protection zone exception permit PTP Z 24000010 at 242 Oak Grove Avenue for the reasons described in the draft tree protection zone exception permit certificate, and categorically exempt the project from the provisions of CEQA under AMC section 15.32.100 and the CEQA section number 153004, minor alterations to land.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bryant? Oh, he's recused. Commissioner Levinson?
Aye.
Commissioner Tonelli?
Aye.
Vice Chair Polito?
Aye.
Chairperson Lane?
Aye.
Motion
All
passes.
right, so I made this meeting as exciting as I could, so. All right, all right, all right. The next item on the agenda is item number 5, I assume. I lost my agenda real quick. There it is. Item number 5, staff reports. You have excitement.
Town
coming.
Planner Brittany Bendix. The first item is just approving the 2025 Planning Commission meeting schedule. This schedule corresponds to the regular Planning Commission meetings. It doesn't include special study sessions, which I think I heard mention of a special study session that we're looking at in January 8th being added onto
What,
this.
January 8th, is that the date?
Yeah, that would be the date.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye,
That would-
Sally.
That would not be on this sheet. This sheet goes public, it's posted online, and it helps applicants understand the cadence
Right.
and the requirements necessary to meet planning commission timelines.
The January 8th meeting is tentatively at 4 o'clock. Is that what it was?
4 to 6
4 to 6.
in this room. And it will be I was gonna save this to my broader, more general reports.
Okay,
but since
good.
we've already talked about
All
it.
right, good.
I can tell you that it's going to cover a general overview of inclusionary housing. It'll touch on the way the density bonus program interacts with inclusionary housing, which Commissioner Bryan has raised a number of times. So I want to let him know. Does he know that he can take his earphones out?
Okay.
No, he's still.
Are you?
They were in the whole time.
I don't know about the joint.
Okay. You don't know about the joint?
Yeah.
All right.
Are you listening? Can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you were still.
It's been the whole time.
No, the audio in here is a
Okay.
little weird, so I'm using the, the.
Yeah, Apple Music is addictive.
Well, he had to recuse himself from the last item, so I thought maybe he still had some
No,
soundproof going on.
that way
Uh,
it gets rid of his echo.
Okay. And then we will also be sharing the, before that meeting, we will be releasing and talking about the inclusionary housing nexus studies that we've prepared to help guide us into crafting an actual policy.
And we may also know about whether our housing plan was accepted at that point.
By then, we should.
Right.
So focusing on the regular meeting schedule, we just need a motion from the commission to adopt it, and then we'll post it and we'll move forward with that as planned.
So we need a motion to
Yes, to
add the
ap-
January 8th meeting or?
No, you need a motion to approve the 2025 planning commission schedule.
Yeah, okay.
So moved.
All right, there's a motion. I'll second. Go roll call because Bob's on the phone. Ready?
Commissioner Bryant, Commissioner Levinson,
Aye.
Commissioner Tonelli,
I,
Vice Chair Polito,
Aye.
Chairperson Lane.
Yes, nice. All right, so what else?
So next item B is the 2024 summary of planning commission items. This is more of a retrospective so that the commissioners have an opportunity to look back over the actions this body have taken, call attention to any potential policy issues you'd like staff to tackle in 2025, and we can work that into our work program. So
Brittany, I apologize. I've got to leave, but just so you know, I will post a huge banner on my wall about that weird meeting in December, so you don't have to chastise me the next time I don't know about it, okay?
well, I don't think you seconded this one. So you could say, oh, Zoom broke out.
Bye, everybody.
Have a good time.
Happy holidays.
Have a good time.
Likewise,
Bob.
enjoy your
Bye.
show. So was there any discussion that you wanted to have? This was really kind of just brought forward for your own opportunity.
Penalties for non-compliance, but that's my own thing.
Penalties for noncompliance relative to tonight's discussion.
Yeah,
So
Okay.
I'd actually like to make a motion
yeah,
regarding this for staff request.
okay. Go.
All right, so I move that the planning commission requests staff to provide the steps.
Wait, well, hold on. We don't do a motion on this because it's not.
No, she has it in here.
Okay. Are we?
Yes.
All right, we do a motion on it? Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
All right. I didn't think we needed a motion. Okay.
If you're going to give staff consolidated direction, you need a motion.
All right. Okay.
Otherwise, if
Right,
there's no
right.
consolidated discussion, I'll work to balance out what
All
I'm
right,
hearing.
got it.
All right, so I move that the planning commission requests staff to provide the steps and timelines needed, A, to revoke the RM10 overlay zoning for the 4 parcels on Bay Road, and B, to enact RM10 overlay zoning for the 12 parcels bordered by Middlefield, Oak Grove, and the 3 RM10 parcels on Ravenswood.
Why is that?
So before you do a second or call a vote, I'd like to speak to the motion.
Well, we need a second. You had better explain it because otherwise you might not get a second.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm
All
gonna
right, then
speak
go
to
ahead and
this plan.
explain it.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm just going to sort of read through this. So last month, under imminent threat of penalties from the state, and since there were no other available options, the council included the Bay Road parcels in the RM10 overlay zone. The impact from the potential development of these parcels is likely very much worse than what residents expect. I know how unusual this motion is, so to understand why action is required, we need to start with what the state is offering the RM10 parcel owners. So as a reminder, why do we need to zone parcels for multi-family development when we have ADUs in the school site? In short, the state will not certify our housing element without X number of parcels zoned for multifamily development. The 11 parcels included in the housing element are those that we have proposed as and now zoned as RM10. So the state does not stop at just requiring zoning. It also offers the RM10 parcel owners the right to build up to 15 market rate units per acre if they agree to include an additional 5 units, 5 below market rate units in their development for a total of 20 units per acre. If the RM10 parcel owners accept the offer, then the state grants them an additional right to invoke town waivers to bypass any and all town design standards, including floor area and coverage area ratios, height restrictions, required setbacks, etc. The state then goes a step further, granting RM10 parcel owners 4 concessions that can be used to bypass any local restrictions not covered by waivers. So recapping, the town is required to have at least 11 parcels zoned for multifamily development. RM10 parcel owners, at their discretion, can bypass any of the town's design standards if they include below market rate units in their development. If all 8 of the most developable RM10 parcels were built at 20 units per acre with no constraint on heights or setbacks, the privacy would be impacted for a dozen adjacent R1A parcels, which would be unacceptable to any of us. This is the bind that the state has forced on the town. It is possible, though, to eliminate the adjacent R1A privacy impacts if we limit RM10 zoning to, quote, islands, blocks of 10 to 15 contiguous parcels separated by streets from R1A parcels. The RM10 property owners within the island could still impact one another's privacy, but each would also have the option to develop their property. The Bay Road parcels do not meet this criteria. The 15 Middlefield, Oak Grove, Ravenswood parcels are an island and meet it.
Okay, so the only thing I would say about this is the timing of it. With this, if we were to put this on the records as a direction to staff, I think it's going to be a situation where if the state looks at that and says, wait a minute, what are you doing here? You made a proposal to us and then you're going to come up with a way to get around it.
No.
No,
because the proposal is to actually add additional.
But I thought the initial recommendation was to have staff return with a timeline to remove properties.
that's the first line you said.
No, I understand that, but you have to do the second one as well. It's
I
to add.
I understand that, but the
Oh,
state
well,
is
let me-
currently reviewing this. And so to bring forward any sort of indication that there was action to undo the housing element
So.
as it's currently under review is
Yeah.
concerning.
So the reason that I made this motion now is because you asked for motions about staff work for 2025.
So let's, I'm not going to
I
second.
I understand that.
Yeah, because it's just the worst timing. If after, let's say something miraculous happens and the plan is approved, which I doubt it will be. But if it is approved, then I would be looking for maybe a motion to go to say, okay, how do we make sure that it contains it to the allowable restrictions that we're looking for? That I can see staff doing, but to go off with the idea that would tell us how to take those off now, right in the middle of review process, it's just dangerous to the town.
I'm okay with that, but so everybody ought to be on notice. Let me.
Well, the first part of what you said, I don't agree with at all. Second part makes sense.
Which,
The first part where you say, how do we get around the designations of those properties?
no, I'm not saying that.
Well, you did.
I'm saying that the state just requires that we have at this point 11 properties zoned RM10. They're not telling us that has to be the ones on Bay Road.
No, but they tell us, they have to tell them which ones, and we've said they will.
The town planner, Brittany Bendix, they haven't given us a specific number, and they haven't given us any sort of official feedback on whether or not what we've submitted is even sufficient.
So again, I'm happy to withdraw this right now and come back to it at our January meeting and make the same motion.
Well, let's,
Yeah, assuming that
let's
we've got
see what the state
certification.
comes back with, because the state's liable to come back and say, you know, we need 20 properties. So we've got to figure out what they say next. We made the first move.
Right, I agree.
Okay,
What I'm trying to do is put everybody on notice that the Bay Road properties, if they get developed, that's a disaster.
well, we've been saying that all along.
Right.
So that's
Well,
not
no. We've said it, but we were saying it based upon traffic and other things. I'm saying that the state is giving, right now, all of the RM10 property owners can go in.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
It's twice the density.
And we denied it here at this level.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, so
So
we've gone on record saying it's a bad
Right.
plan.
I'm just trying to go farther, which is let's fix it.
Then take this to the city council and propose it to them and see what they say about it.
No, I think.
Yeah. I'm not gonna pass anything that they get stuck with and say, here, hold that.
Right.
You know, it just, that's not gonna work. If we've got to,
Actually, I had the conversation with one council member who wanted the
Yeah.
planning commission to actually.
yeah, I know, yeah, it's because then that council member wants to hand the grenade to four other members. So let's come back in January on that one. I can't second that one. I don't know if anybody else.
I agree with you on that. Just,
Yeah.
I think it's
Okay.
best to
So-
wait on it and see
I
what
will-
happens first and then.
I do want to say that we will be talking about some of the density bonus concerns that you've raised in your description.
I'm sorry,
We will be talking about some of the density bonus
in the January.
circumstances at the January 8th study session.
Yeah, no, and that's why I hopefully will be
Let's
there.
bring it up. Let's bring up the issue then and see what this
Yeah.
town council.
That would be an opportune moment to raise concerns and get collective feedback in terms of the direction.
Yeah, the problem that we've had for the last 2 months at least is a general lack of understanding of what the law is at this point.
Well, I would say that maybe you're right, but I don't think so. I think the.
Well, it's true unless you.
Well, I understand what you're saying. What I think that we're dealing with is that given the terribly written law with terrible execution, given and everything else, that of all the things we could do worse is not have a plan at all. Because then we're gonna get.
No, I understand that.
All right, so
the
let's
whole-
see if we get a plan and then let's figure out how to restrict it to the limit we want. So right now, we don't have direction for you, but I think it's coming in January, we'll have some.
Well, I did have some lower hanging fruit.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
One of the things that came up on the housing element and the zoning code updates was orientation of corner lots and designation of frontage. And I did want to highlight that you've seen a variance for that this past year. You've seen redesignation requests that trigger a planning commission meeting. And so I was looking for some general sense of if the planning commission wanted to consider greater flexibility at the staff level to change the designation of what your frontage is when you're a corner property. Or we could just continue bringing those types of circumstances to the planning commission. And then it would escalate to the city council if necessary.
So my feedback on that is, I'm comfortable with staff actually handling those administratively. The one concern that I would have is in a number of those situations, we missed the fact that, that a road was going to go in and impact trees along a property line. And so I think if staff is going to handle that administratively, they have to own really understanding what the impact is around the perimeter of the property.
The other thing along those same lines, the number one issue we've had to come up repeatedly is the whole integration of the view of the plan by somebody. It was back
That's what
to,
I'm saying.
this whole issue about building department has this and planning's got this. And nobody knows they're holding on to an elephant, just somebody has a trunk and somebody has a
Mhm.
leg and they don't know it's an elephant. So what do we do? What do we do to make that more holistic understanding? This is the most for such a small town. This is the most Byzantine method of doing this that I've seen in the time that I've been on planning commissions. I mean, I would get plans that would be complete. It would understand what the effect of the road was and the trees but now I'll listen to Sally and I'll listen to staff and I'll listen to and from that, we have to put together the macro view. And then we don't get a chance to review all of it sometimes because it's been already done so something around that definitely needs to be worked on.
And I actually have a meeting with the different department heads that work on development and their kind of seconds in their departments to look at that permitting process and figure out how we can make it more transparent.
So maybe
Clear.
a study session with them or or something on an agenda where they come and talk to and talk to us about what their thinking is on that, and we give them feedback of what our impact is.
Sure.
Something where we get the dialogue going at this level.
It would likely be something that staff lands on, and then I come and present a summary of what we're doing relative to permit processing to the planning commission.
Yeah. Brittany, you have a lot of experience and worked in, very large planning organizations, but I know other communities on the peninsula, they have they have a review sessions over a counter where they're covering everything in a review session. And so
that's one thing I've put out there.
Yeah.
There's also a question of whether or not planning review should have to happen first.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would like to help you with that.
That's the way. Yeah. That's the
I
way.
will let you know if I need your leverage, but I have used the concerns that have been raised at prior meetings as a way to corral and get people in the room and focus on this as an issue.
All right.
And I think you've seen Sally frustrated by it as well.
Yes.
So I have her support as well.
Right. All right. So do we need a motion on that?
No, you can.
I
move
move
things
that
along.
I move that we direct that.
Okay.
That review of the overall planning and building process.
Okay.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was a 4-0 with
Yeah, unanimous. It
what?
was a unanimous aye, as I heard.
Well, the reason I did that, Bob's gone. So
Yeah.
now we're all here. So
Cool.
Bob was excused. All right. All right.
Okay, so item 5C, moving on,
Yes.
is just general staff report to address the elephant in the room. I have not heard back from HCD yet. I think I've probably made that clear already. We also have lost one of our planners, Sean Manalo, who is left to go work with the city of Milpitas, so he's not with us tonight. I do have a new staff member, Jerry Martin, who's been patiently sitting by my side, learning the ropes and kind of watching how the planning commission meetings are run. So you'll get to hear from
Would
him.
you make sure he doesn't talk so much next time?
Yes, definitely. He was actually very helpful at a hip housing and ADU workshop that we did where we tried to promote that as a rental opportunity and drum up interest in our ADU programs. In terms of looking forward to 2025 on my own agendas, clearly I'm very focused on the inclusionary housing program and meeting anything that we get back from HCD and housing policy. My concern with the inclusionary housing program is going to be wanting to have something adopted before we get any multifamily applications submitted so that we actually get some affordable units out of them. We also will have the annual progress report moving forward in the beginning first quarter of the year. This is our response to HCD in terms of how we're doing relative to all the programs in our housing element and the RENA numbers that we are obligated to meet. So that might, depending on our performance in certain areas, raise some policy issues as well. There's a whole slew of state laws that came out this year that I will also be advising you of periodically as we're moving forward through those required elements. Once we get past the annual progress report, I'm going to pivot to doing more code cleanup.
Yeah.
So
Let me just comment on the new laws. I mean, basically, the legislature is changing the law, the housing laws, and in general every year. And my experience in this past year is that we were not keeping, as a town, we were not keeping current on all the changes. I mean, again, you guys don't even understand the law. I don't think what I just talked about.
I understood that because I read the report that outlined it all. The question will be,
Which
is that
report?
the overall housing plan, it went
No.
through all the numbers. It
No.
went through all the numbers of the possibility of the bonuses and everything else.
No, but those aren't current.
Well,
That's not current law.
we were briefed on current at the time it came out.
That's my point. That's actually my point is that's like 2-year-old data. And all the housing bonus density law changed fundamentally.
actually, Commissioner Bryant, a lot of what you've been describing to me is consistent with builder's remedy changes, which makes it easier to do a builder's remedy project. In fact, the law has lowered the amount of affordable housing you even have to include in a builder's remedy project, but the density bonus law did not change that substantially last year. There are ways that you can combine the two and make some
So
very
maybe I
concerning.
misunderstand something, but
It's possible. And so
but
what
Brittany,
you've written out for your motion, I would, encourage you to send that to me so I can kind of distinguish
Brittany, I've read the
between
ABAG reports and their recommendation on how to implement the changes that were made last January. And so what I went through is ABAG's recommendation to cities how to deal with the changes that the legislature made for a double bonus density program.
Okay.
And that's my point is that
All right, well, we'll
we're
put-
not current.
Well, we will be, but the thing, but I'm looking for solutions, not problems. All right. So what is the solution to that? It's not, yeah, sure, we'll get up to date, but there's a solution within that. So I'm trusting Brittany to be on top of the changes. If there's something that she needs to look into, ask her to look into it and then she'll bring it forward.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have to make a federal case out of it. We just need to just let her know. I let her know about things that I discover a regular time and she folds it into whatever we're doing. So
My concern is that we've zoned property that entitles those owners and incents them with very strong financial incentives to go do something that we are not going to be happy with.
Yeah,
And
well,
we
we're-
have no control. We can't stop it right now.
Right, and the fact of the matter is that the way it's set up is we're not going to be happy with virtually anything that comes forward. So that's why we want to find out first, what is approved or what's not approved. And if we miraculously get approved, then we start, then we've got a small problem to solve.
Right.
So it's trying to cover
I
everybody.
agree about the timing.
Yeah, all right,
I-
good.
My issue is just people not understanding that.
Yeah, but telling people that they're stupid is not a good approach.
I'm not trying to tell people they're stupid.
Well, then finish the Dale Carnegie class and come back.
Right.
All right, so anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, then, well, we had happy Merry Christmas. Man, next time, maybe I should take a chill pill before this meeting. I wanted to make a point on this one because I wanted to protect staff from having this randomly happen to them again and again and again. And I also, it's like never happened before where I've just come on off the handle at a contract before.
First time I've seen it
Yeah,
in the time that we've been on the commission.
right,
together.
and it's just because
time.
it's getting to be the method. The method is ask for forgiveness. And so, anyway, I'm sorry about that. Merry Christmas. I'm sorry that this meeting went that way, but I knew it was going to be a problem when I
you
saw it
read
on the agenda.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody, write out your Christmas list and accidentally leave it on the dining room table. Maybe somebody will pick it up and you'll get everything you want. But I appreciate staff. I really miss Sean, by the way, so you've got a tough act to follow. But I'd like to go on the record that Sean really helped me all the time in terms of making sure I understood what was coming and how we talked through how the agenda would work. So in the minutes, I want him shot a copy of the minutes and so he knows what a great job we felt like he did. So that's all I've got.
So are we at commissioners' reports now? Is that where
Yeah,
we're at?
that's where we are.
All right, I just want to officially say, thank you for jumping on the anger hand grenade tonight. Because I think you said exactly what we were all thinking and wanted to say. I didn't want to jump on it because you took care of everything. So thank you for representing us collectively, because I think everybody was thinking the same thing. And ironically, I had typed up some things I wanted to say tonight, but I'll save them for January. But it was addressing exactly what we were doing with that case tonight, just with, and I was addressing, and to the question I asked the guy about the development, especially when we come into situations that are, there's no topography issues or geographic issues or location issues where people want to design the home of their dreams, which is great, but they do it at the expense of some of the guidelines that are laid out for them and ask for exceptions.
Right.
And so that's what I was going to say. I'll probably read it in January. But I'd been thinking about it all week because we've had some cases come up recently. You addressed a few already tonight. There have been some others where there are alternatives, or maybe they've already taken steps to make the alternatives less approachable, as we saw tonight. And it is certainly an issue and something that we need to address moving forward into the new year. But
Yeah.
thanks for saying what you said tonight. That was spot
Yeah,
on.
well, I launched when the guy kept on saying, well, let me tell you the rationale, and I've never, and I've done, so anyway, you saw it. But thank you again for reinforcing the fact that he theoretically knew, but he didn't know. I appreciate that.
That was good. Good.
I would say, just to add on to that, Paul, Brittany, the year summary that staff, that was great. I mean, it was really interesting to look back and see the issues. And so we should do that every year.
Yeah, that was good.
And,
Yeah.
and one of them that I looked at, we didn't know the outcome, was on not the public, but the artwork that they wanted to put in the front yard. And so it was interesting to know that they've moved it someplace else, and which was fine. And so this is the point about, we could have ruled tonight, we could have denied that.
Yeah.
And they would have had to fill it in and do it. I mean,
Right.
so we have denied things in this
Well,
past year, and they made it work in a different way.
Well,
And they could
also,
have done that with this.
we-
tool.
Yes, they could have.
we could have denied it, and then they would have had to come back with a new plan. That's what I was
Well,
thinking.
they were showing us the plan that they would.
No, but we weren't approving that plan.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
that's what they would have come back
Yeah,
with.
well, maybe. So then maybe we'd have a chance, but they'd also work with Sally to figure out what would work. And then if the compaction was an issue, they have to come back with plan
Right.
X or whatever it would have been.
We ruled on something a number of years ago over at the old chambers for a property at the end of Tuscaloosa and at Tuscaloosa and Selby, which is at the corner of
Yeah,
Selby and Coghlan Lane.
yes.
And it was to remove some heritage trees that the developer or the architect actually was at the meeting, and the owner had this design that they wanted that included a tennis court. And we denied it, the removal of some oaks. We did grant them to remove some palm trees, some canary palms, but they left those anyway. So years later, the house is built, and I walk by it all the time. And it's one of the most impressively designed homes, I think, in the area. It's all one level. There's a couple of shorter 2-level parcels on the property. So I went back and looked at the notes, and I emailed the architect. This is 5 years after the fact, and told him, thank you. Your work was impressive. I love the design of the place.
Right,
He remembered it because he left that meeting very angry that night.
right, yeah.
He said he remembered the project. He welcomed the challenge. And he said, and the owner didn't really want the tennis court anyway.
Yeah, it was a
So,
bad, I remember that
It wasn't
one.
even a sacrifice, but
Yeah.
yet they wanted this parcel to be the home of their dream. And but he, in that email, said the owner didn't really care about the tennis court anyway.
Yeah,
And taking that tennis court out solved the entire problem. And if you go by that corner, it is a very impressive looking
Right.
design with the way they incorporated the trees with the
Right.
architecture of the building is it's really, really
yeah,
nice. So
good planning works.
it can work.
That's right.
And you just have to kind of pressure them a little bit
Right.
sometimes.
All right, well, that thrilling meeting then, is any other items? All right, then, everybody, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That was pretty quick.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.